Peeps and non-peeps. Okay, so again, I'm doing all this on my phone, and as such, I don't have the ability to edit very well. So, unfortunately, this is going to be part 2. I stopped here along the way towards the bigger pond to show you rock like this, which is exactly where I got the inclination that there's actually quartz here. Because I saw this rock and some others kind of like it with these big crystal deposits in them. And I really wanted to come here the first time I came back, or I came down here. I wanted to come back almost immediately with a hammer, start pounding out some of that crystal. But the hammer that I was going to use broke, so I can't do that. But just thought I'd show you some of that. Kind of doubt you can hear it, but there is a lot of buzzing around here. Like there are a bunch of bees in this area. Now, I'm not allergic to bees. I thought I was for a good 20 years after an incident in 2nd grade when I got stung by a wasp and my finger kind of swelled up, and I had been playing at school. I was rolling down a hill and the wasp ended up on my middle finger stinging me, and that hurt, and I was running around playing like a little kid. And when we were at the doctor's office getting it checked out, the nurse asked me if I was out of breath and had swelling. I saw my finger pop out, and I had been running around, so yeah, I was out of breath. So I answered truthfully, yeah, I was out of breath and my finger swelled, but I didn't say it that way. I just said yes. And they interpreted that as anaphylactic shock, and they said I was allergic to bees. And the funny thing about that is my mom bought a sting kit. Now, this was back in the 80s, a bee sting kit. So if I got stung by another bee, they could shoot me with the epinephrine back before the guy bought the patent for it and then decided to jack up the price back in the early 2000s. Now, ooh, there is a snake in that water, and it's gonna head off. But I thought it was gonna attack a fish. But yeah, there is a snake in that water, so I'm not going to get a whole lot closer. This is not the bigger pond. This is part of a whole system of ponds. But yeah, this is back here, and again, I heard some more cows. Haven't seen any cows, but I've heard them. And there's that snake, so I'm not going too much closer to the water, and I'm probably just going to head out of here for now. Going back to my story, so like I said, for about 20 years we thought I was deathly allergic to bees. That kind of messes with your head a little bit. Every time you see a bee, you freak out because you think that that thing could kill you. And so one day when it was a little bit after Christmas. This was slightly before 2002, because that was before I moved to Colorado. But right over there is the bigger pond, and we'll get a better view of it in a little bit. But before 2002, one Christmas, my brother-in-law, my sister, and my nephew We're all visiting for Christmas, and there's a lot of water there, and I'm going to try to stay on the drier side of everything. But they were about ready, or they were about ready to leave. And so my brother-in-law asked me to fill his tires with air. And living in Southern California, Christmas morning, or not Christmas morning, but a couple days after Christmas morning, it's not that cold. So, and I could handle cold a lot better at the time too. Now I'm a big wimp. In fact, I've been a big wimp probably since we moved to Texas when it comes to cold. But I was going around the car and filling up the tires with the hose from the air conditioner, air compressor, excuse me. And here's more of that pond. Anyway, I was filling the tires, and I walked around to the driver's side, around the back to the driver's side, and my brother-in-law smokes cigarettes. And growing up in the 80s, yeah, my whole family pretty much were a bunch of smokers. My grandfather smoked, my dad smoked, my mom smoked, my uncle smoked. My brother-in-law, he smokes. I think my sister smoked for a while. I think she's trying to quit, but but she's gone to vaping, I guess. But you live around smokers long enough, and you walk around barefoot as much as I stupidly did as a kid, you're going to step on a partially burning cigarette. And you know it kind of hurts. Well, I stepped on something and my foot started burning. Okay, I thought I had stepped on my brother-in-law's discarded cigarette butt. But I lifted my foot and I see parts of a bee just falling away. And the stinger's still there in the bottom of my foot. And I kind of panic because, oh my God, I'm going to die. It's the first time in 20 years I've been stung. I'm definitely going to die now. So I do the stupidest thing you could ever do. I run upstairs, I run into the house, go upstairs, grab the card, grab my insurance card, my medical insurance card. I was about 18, 19, maybe 20 at the time. I go upstairs, grab my insurance card, use that to plop out the stinger, because you don't want to squeeze the stinger. You want to use a card to pull it out, because if you squeeze the stinger, you squeeze that sac that all the venom's in, and it goes into your system a lot faster. And this used to lead into a little pond, and it's probably going to be up here. But anyway, I used the number on the back of the card to call the advice nurse at Kaiser, because that's the insurance we had. And I asked her, well, what do I do? Well, you take some Benadryl, some aspirin, and make a baking powder paste and put it on the bottom of your foot, or put it on the sting location. Here's that pond again. You put it on the sting location so you don't, or so it calms down the itching. Well, I did all that, and later on that day, probably about 8 hours or so later, tell my mom and my dad what the hell, or my stepdad, what the hell happened. And they said, yeah, you're probably not allergic, and we can probably get rid of that sting bite kit that we bought 20 years ago. Oh, I'm glad we never used that, because that sting bite kit, the syringe that came with it, instead, or where the medication was, there's still a bunch of clear, well, I mean, by now it had yellowed a little bit, but there were also like little black chunks of something in there. And I'm just like, well, I'm glad I never had to use that, because I'll probably end up dying from the expired epinephrine in there before I had the chance to survive, or probably die from that before the bee sting would have killed me, which it really wouldn't have. I think I just saw a frog. Could be a grasshopper, but I saw a frog. There he is. I don't know if... I hope you can see that, because my screen here is terrible during the day. But yeah, I was just glad that I never used that stuff. There's some old mining equipment up there. And I'm glad I never used that epinephrine, because I probably would have died from using expired medication before the bee sting would have killed me, because as we found out, I'm actually not allergic to bee stings. It's kind of a weird way of doing it, but I guess that's one way. Rounding back to the tree over there, or the bunch of trees back there that were humming. I'm not as afraid of bees anymore. I still kind of panic, because almost everybody panics at bees, unless they're truly cool as a cucumber or something. But I'm sorry, everyone panics at bees. You know that thing can sting you. You may or may not know what a sting feels like, but you know that you don't want to get stung. So I don't panic. I just try to avoid as much as possible. I try to give them as much space as they tend to give me. And if they fly onto me, I'm usually pretty cool about it. I don't panic and throw a huge fit, but there's still a little bit in me that kind of panics a little bit. Now over there is where the pond is, the big pond. And I'm going to try to keep going around. There's a huge puddle in the road ahead of me. But what I'm going to try to do is circle around the pond and go up behind it. Now, there's not too many places I can film it from there, so I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of breaks where I film more of the thing unless I find a good place to look. But sorry, I found some quartz here, and here's some more of that, those fossils. But I'm going to try to continue around the outside, head into the actual mine pit where they put all the rocks and whatnot, where all the trucks go during the week, and then I'll head back home and probably upload this on Tuesday, this one and the other one. This is part 2. Sorry guys, I accidentally close off my phone, and when I did that, it's like, oh, you're done filming. Well, not really, but okay, well, I guess we're making a 2-parter. So parts 1 and 2 will be uploaded probably on Tuesday. And there's a little tiny frog just hopped past me towards the right. At least they're frogs, not snakes. Anyway, and there's water flowing down here, so apparently that pond leads out towards this way. And I got this branch here. And try to step on this rock and hope for the best. And I heard a noise coming out of the river, or out of the pond over there. Could have been a frog jumping out or swimming along. Okay, so here's the back part of the pond. And there's where it leads out. And that goes over here. And there's some water down there. Looks like, or by the sound of it, it's coming out down in this area. Now, I'm probably going to give away too much of my location now. But if I can, in one of these weeks, I'm going to head down to Mother Neff State Park, kind of give you a little bit of a tour of that area. Kind of like this. It'll be broken up. Hopefully it'll only be one part. But that's one of my hopeful goals, is to get a view of that park. It's not too big. It's got a wash pond, which they ruined when they reconstructed it. They took out all the limestone that made it nice and clear and something you'd actually wash your clothes in and or swim in. But I mean, now it's a big old mud hole, and the only reason I'm not down there is because I'm pretty sure with all the rains we've had recently, it rained yesterday, it rained last week pretty hard, and we're near the Leon River, which floods every single time. And they, I don't know if they've gotten the water out of there. I doubt it. There's some more of that, more of the pond system. A lot of ponds out here. It's probably why we have a lot of frogs and snakes, and why the owners keep their cows around here. They have all this greenery for them to eat, especially around where my house is, which is one of the reasons we ended up learning how to build a barbed wire fence to keep the cows out. Now, I don't think we really should have had to do that, but because we paid for all the materials, we did all the labor, if my mother-in-law and my wife ever leave here, we're taking that fence back down, and they can just deal with it. Because one morning we woke up, I'm going to rest a little bit. My heart condition, it's kind of hard to walk and talk and do all this. But with my heart condition, or with the fact that we did all the labor and paid for all the materials, we're taking that out. Because one morning we woke up and there was a cow patty right outside our back door. And hoof holes. My mother-in-law loves doing the lawn. That's kind of her. Well, there's an old King of the Hill cartoon where Hank tries to tell Luann how he calms down when everything is stressful to him, and that pretty much is done by him mowing his lawn, taking care of his lawn. Well, she just moved in to a house across Rainier Street, and her roommates all took advantage of her, and they used up all the power, or they jacked up their phone bill, and they jacked up the power bill and everything else. And she was getting so stressed out because nobody was helping her do anything, cook, clean, do all the normal things that roommates pull together and do. And so she paid off the bills and shut them off. So they had no power, they had no water, they had nothing. So that her and she went out back and started working on the pool as her lawn, quote unquote. So my mom's lawn is her lawn. And when you're using a push mower, hoof holes do not make it easy. So she got really upset about that. And our landlord, I guess not kind of realizing that, you know, we pay quite a bit in rent and we shouldn't have to deal with cows in our yard shitting all over it and putting hoof holes in the ground. So they allowed us to build a fence, but we are taking that fence when we move. And there is about the best view of the pond you're going to get from the back. So that's it. Now, before I pause this again to continue on, I have 5 subscribers at the time I recorded this, and I hope I have more. And in the last video I put the names of the subscribers I knew the names of, because I've had a subscriber since the day I put in a description, but that was long before I put any information or any videos in. Since then, my subscriber base has gone up by 40%, so I have 5 total, and the 4 I know about include, and I want to thank you for being my subscribers, and I'm going to try to make this thing anytime I get a new subscriber in my next video, even though this is 3 videos late. I want to shout them out, but my subscribers so far are Lisa for Truth, Lucy Fur, Godless Engineer, and forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, but it's J Spot J. And I want to thank you all for being subscribers. If I get any more subscribers, I appreciate it, and I will try to mention you as soon as possible. I'm still trying to get my feed here on YouTube, so please bear with me. I'm not the best at this. Alright. I'm going to take a little break. We're getting close to the actual pit of the mine, and I'll show you some of that. Okay. So we have made it to the quarry pit. And, well, all you really see while you're down here are these huge piles. And if you look up over there, you see their equipment for crushing. But not a whole lot down here. Just these huge piles which they dig up into and fill the backs of trucks. Those rock trucks that you probably encountered along the road, and they like to throw a random rock here and there and it spiderwebs your windshield. So yeah, it's not a whole lot of interesting around here, but that's pretty much what we're looking, or what we have down here. And let's see, Looks like they're going down in that way. But what they've really been doing is further up through these hills. I'll get up there, kind of show you some of the newer stuff that they've blasted. And from there I'll put an end to this, head home, get something to drink, and relax until Tuesday when I upload both parts of this. Again, I'm sorry for the 2 parts, but I guess it really helps to know your equipment a little better. Again, I'm learning, so yeah, I'm gonna head up that way. When I get there, you'll see. Okay, so over there is the road they usually come down into here with, or on. And I've never seen them actually do any work. So either, I assume, one of the dozers comes around, digs it up, and puts it directly in the truck, or they shove it down that hopper and it goes down these conveyor belts and gets crushed along the way, and then falls down that hopper into the back of the truck also. That's one of my 2 working theories here. But, and then they go, I think they go down that road and then go back up that road, because that leads directly over to the that leads over to the scale. But this is their rock hill, one of many. And I'm going to go up the road that they come down on.